Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to the Decent Human Podcast. I had the pleasure to sit down with a good friend of mine, George Kroll. He's known by many for his incredible energy and personality, combined with an exciting outlook on life and what it means to be a human. An outlook that most recently had him in Ecuador on a month-long exploration where he engulfed himself into the lifestyle of the locals. I knew he'd have some great stories and wisdom to share when we got together, but I did not expect to learn so much of the ins and outs of his journey to this point. It made me realize that we all have a great opportunity to learn daily from the experiences of those around us, which is why I'm excited and humbled to share this episode with you. So I hope you enjoy, and thanks for being here. One of the main reasons why I wanted to have you on is because from a decent human standpoint, it's one thing for a person to say they're a decent human, right? But I saw the way people reacted to you. I saw somebody comes in and they're like, "Oh, is George here?" And then you come and you're like, "Hey, Mrs. So-and-so, like, how's everything?"
Yeah,
and you'd be like, how's your brother? How's your cousin? How's your grandson? Like, And I'm like, how in the world does this dude know not only everybody, but knows everybody's family tree associated with those people? So something dawned on me. I was like, this kid has something. So I wanted to figure out, where did that come from? Like, have you always been that extroverted? Have you always been that people person? Or is it something that you picked up in high school? Is it recent? Where did that come from?
So honestly, I think it's coming from my mom. My mom is me on steroids. You know, my dad tells me stories about when my mom, she's from Canada, by the way. You know, okay, she's a perfect stereotype, you know. Small town in Canada, comes to New York, and my dad was telling me stories. She'd like talk to cab drivers, ask them how their day is. No one does that. You know, no one does that. She'd be like, "Where are you from? Like, how long have you been in New York for?" No one does that. And, you know, for a lot of people, it could be annoying. But for my mom, she loved to talk.
Yeah.
Everyone.
Yeah.
Same with her mom. You know, you start talking to my Nana, you talk for 3 hours, you know? She's always like that. And like you said, just keeping up on people's lives really isn't that hard. If you listen well, and you talk to someone, you remain interested, kind of firing off like, "Oh, how have you been? How are your kids doing?" It's not that hard.
True.
You know, you could totally. It's not that I'm like keeping a file in my brain of just remembering these people, but every time they come in, you know, you know their name. Yeah. You remember their name. I'm not great with names, but if you remember someone's name, that's the first step. They automatically feel very comforted when you know their name. You know, go up to them with a lot of energy, ask them how their day's going. You know, it's super easy for me. I mean, I've been doing it for a little while now, especially working in a restaurant for so long. Yeah. That really
what helped?
A ton.
Yeah.
A ton. I mean, if you think about it, like, I started working there at Bodega right around the time I turned 16. So I was really young.
Yeah.
And I was already a very extroverted guy, but then every weekend, spending my weekends seeing friends come in, it was awesome. I loved it. Loved it. And at the same time, I was making great money, but, you know, moms, family members would come in, friends, and you just gotta have a great energy when they come in, you know? And I feel like that easily carries out into everyday life. Yeah. And, you know, it's just how I am. Yeah,
for sure. How old were you when because you recognized that it was your mom that you kind of got that from. How 100%. Old were you when you kind of recognized it in your mom? Like, was it when you just developed like the cognitive ability to like recognize traits? Like, how old were you when you realized like, my mom does this on the regular, and that you realize that this is like kind of rubbing off on me?
Well, I mean, I've always been a firm believer that your parents have a lot of influence in who you are. And so I think just spending so much time with my mom growing up, you know, telling jokes with her, making her laugh, her doing the same with me, you know, we just have such a great relationship that I feel like it's kind of my entire life has built to where I am now. And of course, my dad has a lot of influence in that as well. He's very, very funny guy, laid back. He's an awesome guy. And I feel like I've gained a lot from him, you know, the kind of don't sweat the small thing kind of mentality. But my mom, I've gained a lot of my attitude towards life, you know, being very upbeat all the time. There's no need to, be down on small things or things that you can't change. There's a few things that I can always remember my mom telling me as I'm growing up. She would always say, one, pull up, not down, which is a big thing. She'd always say to anyone, pull up, not down. You never want to tell anyone that they're doing something wrong not doing something wrong, but that they're doing something poorly. Mm-hmm. Give them positive encouragement rather than negative. So she brought that up a lot between my little brother and I, especially when we're 3 years apart. So we've always been very competitive. Mm-hmm. And so if I said something to my little brother when I was 12 years old that pulled him down, she would always say, George, pull up, not down.
100%.
And I guess that's the things like that, small little teachings.
So that's because I was going to ask a question about, that's kind of a life motto that you have.
Yeah,
because I wanted to see, did you have a code? Do you have a philosophy that you're following in life? But it seems, from knowing you for about 6 months, it seems like that's something that you really live by.
Well, I'd like to remind myself that I'm still very young, so I don't really want to have a life motto at this point. I'm only 18 years old. I feel like I don't have enough. I like to think that I don't have enough experience in life yet to kind of develop my own motto.
Yeah.
So I like to listen to what people have to say.
Yeah.
I really enjoy listening to people who have a lot more experience in life than I do. And I find I try to learn as much as I can from those people. So I guess you could say that my life motto has kind of been developed by some of the most important people in my life. Mm-hmm. And one day I hope to spread my life motto with other people and of course be as original as possible.
Yep.
But, I think there will always be influence from teachers, coaches, parents, people you meet, friends. And I think that's where I kind of fall right now.
Yep.
And I don't want to have my own life motto. A few years back, I was super set on the idea of what I wanted to do with my life. But now, as I'm maturing, I think that's a terrible idea. Why go into something that I've wanted to do since I was like 16? I'm so young.
That's incredible.
I see people. I fear for people. My friends who are in college right now picking their majors. I'm like, I can't. I feel like I'm a mature guy, but I'm 18. I keep reminding myself I'm so young.
Yeah.
People are throwing me huge life decisions right now, but I don't want to take them.
Yeah.
Not out of laziness, but out of I recognize that I am young.
Yeah.
I have a lot to see, a lot to learn. I haven't had a day of college yet, and they're asking me to choose what I want to do for the rest of my life.
100%.
It's wild. I have no clue what I want.
I totally agree. Yeah. Because what you're in that stage. I took a year off before I started high school.
Great idea.
Before I started college. What you're in is that transition period where you're learning about yourself.
Oh, yeah.
There's so many people who are 18 and before they actually have that ability to just experience life and figure out what they actually want to do, they're being forced to make decisions like they're 40 years old.
Yeah.
Like you're being forced at 18 to make a decision that a 40-year-old would make on how do I want to set up my life, where do I want to live, how many kids do I want to have, what kind of wife do I want to settle down with. An 18-year-old really should be figuring out what they want to do. And even if you don't know what you want to do, try everything until you figure out what that is.
Exactly. And I've learned that a lot. I've learned that a lot, especially in the restaurant business as well.
Yeah.
I think working with a lot of people who, I'd say anyone working at Bodega, that they don't, besides management, I'd say that isn't their career.
100%.
They're always, the people tell me about their dreams and they're way older than me.
Mm-hmm.
I realized and also a lot of people tell me that when they were 18, they thought they wanted to do one thing and now they're doing something completely different.
Yeah. You're hitting on something super important.
And so I find that, I can continuously tell myself, I'm so young. I want life to run its course. And I don't want to push my life into a direction that in 10 years I'm going to regret.
100%.
Yeah.
And I think the thing that's so crazy is you working in the restaurant, being 18 and starting younger than maybe some of them actually did. You can learn from their experience.
Yeah, I do.
If there's somebody who's 30 years old, 25 years old, they're not significantly older than you, but you can tell based on their story and the decisions that they've made.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what can I learn? What nuggets of wisdom can I take for them, whether it's positive or negative?
Yeah.
Because I find a lot of times in life, you can learn what you should do in life from what other people, maybe their mistakes.
Yeah.
It's not just the positive things. You're like,
agree.
I don't want that for me. I don't want that for me, but I want this for me.
Agreed.
You know, so you can, there's a lot of wisdom that you can take. And I know you've been taking it. I can already tell.
No, totally.
You know,
and for me, I really don't think that, I mean, it's tough. I mean, obviously the last 18 years of my life are, fine.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's tough to kind of learn who you are living at home with your family and going to high school, you know? It feels weird now talking to my friends from home. It's my first year where we're not all together, right? Last year, this time, we were all preparing for midterms. We had school, coronavirus was a thing. Everyone was on the same page.
Yep.
Now, I come home. I wasn't in school. They come home from school, and we're all back in town together, and it feels like we're like 30 years old, man. I'm like, what have you been doing for the last 6 months, man? Like, I'm used to seeing you in the hallways at school. Now it's like, what have you been up to?
Yeah, definitely.
And I feel like now is the time where everyone, and I also see a lot of people have changed tremendously since when they left for school. I think
these are people that actually went away to school.
These are people that are living in the dorms.
Yep.
College isn't completely normal yet, but especially at some schools like in the South, for example,
it's a little bit.
It's a little more normal.
Definitely.
And so, people are changing every day. I see people all the time, and I think I'm so happy for them too, because I mean, it's great to get out of Darien. It's great to get out of this bubble that we've been living in for so long, and it's great to see people kind of do their own thing.
Yep.
And I'm very happy, but it makes me feel older and kind of a lot more mature. Going out and talking to people I haven't talked to in months, and they're working on their own. They're doing their own thing at college. I have one friend who's working on trying to become a spokesman for the TED Talk for education at University of Virginia.
That's incredible.
Great for him, And you would never have been able to get that opportunity at Darien High School or high school near here. People are really doing things with their lives, and it's great. That's
the biggest thing that I tell people going into college and people that are in college. The things that you get exposed to is the most valuable thing you're going to get from college. It's not just the education. The education is just the baseline information that you need to have success, but it's the connections, it's the relationships, it's the opportunities that if you're not paying attention will pass you by. But if you pay attention to those opportunities, like there might be somebody who goes into college and maybe he wasn't thinking about doing that.
Completely.
But then he went to college and something was like, wait, I think I would want to do that.
Completely.
So it's like, that's the biggest thing. It's like being open to that opportunity and really paying attention to what's in front of you.
And so now I have the idea. Now I think that everyone my age, high school graduates, are now starting their lives. And that's where they're going to become curated for life. So I feel like this year is kind of my first year of really experiencing life.
Yeah.
And my motto for this year was, I don't want to spend a day in pants. I want to be traveling. I took a gap year from school, not to sit in town. I don't want to be wearing, not like no one wearing pants, but I don't want to be wearing like pants. I want to be wearing board shorts. I want to be in my no shirt on the beach with a group of locals. I'm just talking to them. I don't want to be in.
That's one of the funniest things I've ever heard.
That was one of my life mottos.
Yeah, because I know exactly what you mean. Like, you're not saying literally not wearing pants, but like you do not want to be wearing those nice brown shoes with the slacks.
No, I want to be wearing shoes.
Yeah,
I want to be wearing shoes. I want to be on the beach somewhere.
100%. Wearing some sneakers with the laces untied.
No socks. Haven't washed my clothes in weeks. That's what I want.
100%.
That was my goal, and so far it's been going pretty well.
Yeah.
So far it's like that. Of course, coming back for the holidays is great. It's great to see grandparents, parents, friends as well. But in short, doses.
Something that I was thinking about when you were talking about your friends going off to college and you're 18 years old and exploring right now is a lot of people, what they do is they figure out, okay, let me figure out what career I can choose so I can make this amount of money, so then I can figure out how I actually want to spend my time with the money that I made.
Yeah.
You're spending the time doing the things you want to do.
Yeah.
And then you're open to figuring out what's going to make you the money to allow you to keep doing that.
Yeah.
So you're reverse engineering the process of figuring out how you want to design your life.
I want to be broke by the end of the year.
I feel you.
I want to have spent my money. And, I worked hard, and I've amassed enough money that, in my opinion, that I can live comfortably on my own traveling.
Yes.
And I don't have to worry about where my next meal will be.
Yeah.
But that being said, I also don't want to have any money by the time I get back, because I don't want to be somewhere. Like, for example, I just got back from Ecuador, and I had 5 days left in Ecuador, and I was planning on going back to Quito. Quito is where I went. It started my trip. I spent 3 days there, and I was pretty much planning on going back and just preparing to go home. Yeah. I traveled by backpack, so I had about 3 t-shirts, a bathing suit, a few pairs of socks, a few pairs of shorts, and that's about it.
Yeah.
And I was gonna go back to Quito, buy some stuff, buy some like ponchos for my family, stuff like that. But I was like, you know what? Like, why would I go back? Let me go to I went to the Amazon rainforest in the last 5 days.
No way.
And I was like, screw it. Let me spend another couple $100 to get there. Like, let me do something crazy for my last time here. So I went, and I didn't feel badly spending the money. It's a great way to spend money. I went to the Amazon rainforest, and I stayed in a town called Misahueli, which was deep. Like, nearest ATM out there, it was like 3 hours by bus.
That's insane.
So it was a great feeling, very liberating, because it was just a bunch of people living their lives, and I was there kind of just watching them. Yeah. Kind of learning from them. I learned a ton while I was there, and just experiencing what they experience every day. They had monkeys running around town like dogs. It was wild. I had to keep my pockets covered because monkeys would come up to you and try to pickpocket you. I saw a monkey go up to a little girl with a juice box, grab the juice box from her, and sip out of the juice box. I'm not kidding. Run up to a
monkeys
tree.
are like literally humans.
Genius. They were stealing onions from like a local fruit stand.
Yeah, because their hands are literally
humans. It's terrifying.
Yeah,
it's terrifying, and they have no laws either. They can do whatever they want. And like, when do we ever experience that?
Yeah.
Like, I had to throw stuff in my backpack because I was afraid I was going to get robbed
by a monkey.
And there's not like, I can't be like calling the cops. Be like, this monkey took my.
Exactly.
I'd have to sit under the tree and wait for it to
press charges on a monkey.
Exactly. That'd be terrible. But it was a wild experience, and being able to experience other people's lives. It's not like I was going there to like go on like a zipline canopy tour. I was going there.
You're not just going as like the typical tourist who's just like, okay, what fun can I do here?
Or
like,
what resort should I stay in?
Exactly.
I didn't want to stay in a resort. I felt like a lot of traveling that I see my friends and family have done in the past. Yeah. They say they've been to Jamaica, but they've stayed in 5-star Ritz-Carlton resorts in Jamaica. That's not Jamaica.
That's America in Jamaica.
Exactly. You're getting free drinks because you got a wristband that your parents paid for in the beginning.
Exactly.
And
you're jet skiing.
You're going on yachts. Excursions.
Scuba diving.
Yeah, come on.
Swimming with turtles.
That's exactly what I didn't want to do. That's not seeing a country, in my opinion. I want to go to the slums. I want to go somewhere where I don't fit in, and I want to really see what it's like. Take pictures.
Let me ask you this: what are the people like? Because I find a lot of times you go to places that you might think typically don't have like a great economy, or the people might not have a lot of money. What were the people like? What was that experience interacting with the people in that country?
Well, so the money standpoint in Ecuador, it's one of the poorest countries in South America. And that says a lot. There's Venezuela, Colombia, there's a lot of very poor, struggling countries in South America. But everyone there was absolutely so kind. So kind to me. They didn't care that I was coming. They were happy to see me. I was a little worried going there in the first place with COVID going on. Of course, I was respectful going to these places. I would, of course, wear a mask, even if the locals weren't wearing a mask. I didn't want to piss anyone off. And then become a burden to like where they're living. That would suck. Like that's exactly what I didn't want to do.
Definitely.
So I'd be very respectful, but the people were so kind to me.
Yeah.
You know, I speak Spanish pretty well, I think. You know, I'm not completely fluent, but
you can hold your own in most
I can speak to people very easily.
Yes.
And it was great to go, and you know, nothing beats going up to, you know, someone working the grocery store, like the little tienda, right? The little store there, and speaking Spanish with them, and they're saying, "Oh, where'd you learn Spanish?" You know, we're having this conversation and meeting people from all over the world.
Yeah.
I mean, the locals were one thing, but you know, the other travelers that I was meeting.
Are there expats? Is there an expat area in?
Yeah, so there's a ton. You know, there's a lot of people that, I mean, the entire country isn't very big, so you could travel everywhere. I did the entire country in 34 days, and I don't have any regrets. I would spend 4 or 5 days at a place at a time, and then I'd move on. But if I didn't like the spot, I'd leave faster, and if I loved it, I'd stay longer. Yeah, which I love. You know, the freedom of being able to travel whenever I wanted felt great. And I feel like that's one thing you can only do when you're solo traveling. Yeah. No itinerary. I knew I was landing in Quito and flying out of Quito 34 days later. Yep. And in between those days, I wanted to do as much as I could. Yeah. Because I know if I took my time, you know, didn't push myself to do a lot of things, that I would regret it when I come back. But I made sure to do everything I could in those 34 days. And I had one of the best times of my life. 100%. I have a million stories to bring back to people. Yeah. And I told a million stories when I was there. You know, one thing that I found was really enlightening was how lucky we are. You know, I was down there, and I remember talking to some of these kids, and these kids were fascinated by the life that I live, you know. Coming back, I was in this town called Mompiche, and there's these 3 guys that were sitting on a set of stairs that led down to the beach, kind of like the local hangout area for kids my age, you know, 18, 19-year-old. It's about 3 of them. So there's a very, very small friend group out in Mompiche. Yeah. And they called me over as a joke. They were like, "Hey, gringo, come over here." Right? And I went over there and I started speaking Spanish to them. These kids were like, "Oh, you speak Spanish?" And we got into this like 30-minute conversation. I was telling them about how I traveled Ecuador, and they were telling me awesome spots to hit next, all these places. Yeah. And I don't even know how we got to talking about kind of like the things that we have here that they wish they had in Ecuador. Yeah. And first off, cars. You know, one thing, cars are very expensive down there because everything is imported. They don't make cars down there. Yeah. But the ability to have more than one car is insane. I mean, one car is like, that's great. You're doing well if you're in Ecuador. But down here, people have two cars, you know, no problem. They're buying a car over the week. You know, you walk, see a good deal, you're like, oh, maybe I'll buy a car. You know, but down there, it's like they don't even have that opportunity. Like a for sale sign, like a new Jeep, nothing, man. They don't get that. But you know, they were fascinated to hear like how we just get everywhere by car. And they were like,
"What's their primary means of transportation?" Bus.
And the bus system was so incredible down there. I did everything by bus too. Yeah. I told myself when I got there, I was like, I want to do everything like.
And do they fly? Like when I was in Mexico, like just going through all the parts of Mexico, the buses like fly. But the thing is, there's like bus stops, but they'll stop in the middle of the street too, like for
or like slow down, not stop.
Yeah, exactly. You gotta like run into the bus.
Yeah, like I see like old women like doing like a running leap to hop on the bus. And it's just like,
but at least you get on.
But it's what they do with like 2 dead chickens.
Is the door even closed? They don't even close the door.
No, one of the dudes hangs out and yells where they're going, and like you'll see people raise their hand and run. I remember I had to do that. For my first entrance to busing, I was like terrified. Yeah, because I was leaving Quito, and Quito is one of the busiest stations. I was so overwhelmed. Like people there, you know, they sell tickets. People in the windows too. When they're selling tickets, they'll scream at you and like a selling mentality. You know, they'll be like screaming like a spot, pointing at you, and be like, buy from us, because many buses went to the same place. Yeah. So I was automatically just like, whoa.
Wait, so you buy tickets from multiple different people to get on the bus?
No, not that, but they have tickets. So let's say I was going from Quito to Baños. That was my first bus ride.
Yeah.
5 buses went to Baños.
Different companies? Or
5 different company buses.
Oh, that's what you mean.
So there'd be 5
So
windows.
they're competing against each other to go to the same place.
They want to make as much money. So they'd be doing everything they can to get my bus ticket.
I'd be giving out like free food or something.
Dude. And so I got on the bus and the bus was packed.
Yeah.
And I was sitting next to this guy who was in a full tux with a saxophone. He was telling me that he was working in Baños as a mariachi band kind of deal. He played trumpet or saxophone or something like that. It was a long time ago, but my first bus experience was wild.
Mm-hmm.
I just wasn't, not that I wasn't ready for it. I was just constantly on my toes, like, whoa, this is crazy. People are coming on with chickens by the hand.
A monkey comes on.
Yeah, dude, literally anything.
A monkey pays to get on the bus.
Anything. And what was wild about the bus system was, it was like a marketplace as well. You'd be sitting down, and every bus stop, people would come on with little canned rice and beans for you to buy. T-shirts. You could buy masks.
Yeah.
Anything you could choose. You could buy anything. Anything from the vendors on the bus, and they'd walk the aisles. And
are they super selly, or is it just like
super?
They're super selly.
Super selly. If you buy something, I'll tell you their life story.
Yeah, for
they're
sure.
Super selly.
But is it high pressure, or are they just very high pressure?
Especially with the tourists.
Yeah, because they'll put like the bracelet on your wrist. It's like, oh, it looks good on you.
Exactly.
Exactly.
And you feel bad giving it back. Chocolate bars are thrown in your lap.
You got it
back. And like, only 25 cents. Come on, it's only 25 cents. And you're like, sure. Here's 25 cents.
Yeah.
And it was such a eye-opening experience. I also don't really ride the bus around here. Yeah. I'm used to getting driven around, taking an Uber, but over there, everyone does it. Yeah. It was so cool.
Yeah.
I miss it.
For sure.
I miss it. I look back, I'm like, yeah, I miss the bus.
Is the traffic, I'm assuming the traffic's not that bad because it's all buses. So it's like.
Very little. I don't think I was in traffic once.
Yeah. Because if all you have is public transportation on the road, you don't have any civilians driving, it's not going to be that bad.
Great point. What? I mean, you get boned by getting stuck behind some truck on these winding mountains. And Quito, where I flew into, Quito's elevation is 9,000 feet. Yeah. Quito's high up there.
For sure.
And I remember I was going from Baños, which is also about 9,000 feet, in the mountains, to the beach. Yeah. So the roads I was taking were slim. Yep. Small little turns on the mountains. And to go 10 miles as the crow flies would take 3 hours.
That's wild.
Because you'd be winding the mountains back and forth.
Yeah.
And it was absolutely beautiful.
I can imagine, man.
Beautiful, dense mountains, and you'd see small little villages on the way that are just all they've ever known is this little side of the mountain. Yeah. They have the cows, they have the chickens. They have the mountain for farming, and that's it. Yeah. That's all they need. Yeah. If they need to get somewhere, the bus comes by once a day. They hop on the bus. Yeah. It was wild. I loved it.
Yeah. Thought process behind the podcast too. It's people got to talk to each other, bro.
Dude. And also,
there's too much small talk too. It's you really need to talk to people.
I agree. We spend a lot of time together. Yeah. We would spend a lot of time together at work. Right. Yeah. But I mean, obviously we'd have conversations when we'd be on a double, for example, and it would be slow. Yeah. But during a shift, you could spend 6 hours with someone and have five
easily
small little conversations.
Easily.
Right? Because you're busy. Yeah. You got a lot of stuff going on. It's good to kind of just kick back. Yeah. And just do our own thing. Do this. It's perfect.
100%. Because especially if you're working somewhere and you're spending a significant amount of time there, you don't have that much free time when you're done, because you might have other obligations as well. It's why not kill 2 birds with one stone?
Yeah. Or just be in a bad mood because you're at work.
Exactly.
Yeah. Some people are just having a great time with their friends, and then they got to come to work and they're already in a bad mood.
Exactly.
And they don't want to talk.
Exactly. That's true too. Yeah. That's true too. So one thing I wanted to ask you about your time in Ecuador.
Of course.
What was there any main takeaway? I know you already talked about the people there. What was the main takeaway that you might have gotten from the experience personally, right? Because instead of being, in school or, I know it affected high school as well. what's been the main takeaway since kind of COVID happened, right? So let's look at COVID into your experience in Ecuador. What's been the main takeaway that you feel like you've had this year?
Of course. The first thing that comes to mind is a very humbling experience.
Yeah.
COVID was the beginning. Just being grounded at home for 3 weeks kind of made me feel like, wow, like at least we have a home. Home is important. We're at home and we're all healthy. That was initially my sort of humbling experience. And then that kind of really hasn't faded. The luck of us being healthy, we're young, we don't have diminished immune systems at this time. And, I feel awful for those people that do really worry about, if they get sick, there's a chance that they may fall ill and die. Yeah. It's terrible. Yeah. But, I'm thankful for my health. I'm thankful for being youthful and not really having to worry. Obviously, I worry about COVID and my family. But personally, I don't feel very threatened by COVID. Yeah. Same here. I'm not going around no mask saying, fuck you guys. Yeah. I don't care. COVID's not going to do anything to me. Yeah. But I don't feel like if I got COVID or if I've had it, who knows? I could have been asymptomatic. Who knows? Yeah. That it would really put a huge damper on my life. 100%. Maybe make me sit inside for 14 days. Yeah. But that's it. Exactly. So I feel very, happy to be able to say those words and not have to worry. And it makes me really appreciate what I have and the ability to have a job during COVID, the ability to make money, the ability to still have my friends, everyone to talk to. It was great, especially in the beginning, man. Having someone to talk to is very important. Yeah. It gets tough, especially if you're by yourself. Yeah. I mean, I was quarantined with my mom and my little brother. Yep. So we got very close, but if you're alone, dude, you need people to talk to. Like I was looking at the Instagram post that you're saying, call an old friend or a family member, right? Super easy. Shut your laptop for 20 minutes and call your grandma or your mom if you haven't spoken to them in a while. It's easy, you know? And I feel like I've become very open to things like that, open to becoming more of a decent human from COVID. It's a very eye-opening experience to live during a pandemic as well, and to see so many people struggle through a pandemic. And, you want to do as much as you can to help. Yeah. And same thing in Ecuador, it was very, very humbling to be there. Yeah. And, I wanted to share this with you. I'm not really an emotional person. I don't really feel, I'm pretty go with the flow. I don't really get worked up over small things. Yeah. But one thing that really, again, made me humble me was being my first 5 days in Ecuador. I think it was day 5. I had this wave of where am I? And kind of like in a bad way, where am I? I was by myself in a country. I felt like I didn't belong, kind of, especially after being in the city for a few days, where it was like trying to make friends in New York City on the streets of New York. It was near impossible. And I was in this town called Montanita, which is a town on the beach. It was a place where I was been looking forward to forever. I'm a big surfer, so I was like, I'm gonna love this. I get there, and it was a little rainy. The weather wasn't great, and I kind of just sat in my room, and I had this feeling of just shock. And I think I've never experienced this before. I was extremely homesick. And
this is how many days into the trip?
5.
Wow.
Only 5 days. Wow. Right. And I would caught me off guard too. Yeah. It wasn't something that I just it's oh, I'm feeling a little homesick. I was like, damn, I need to go home. I want to go home right now. Why? No way. What am I doing here? And it just made me it kind of took over me for a day. Yeah. And I just felt this wave of just whoa, where am I? A cultural shock. Yeah. As I would call it. I was not used to walking into my room and the windows didn't have a way to close. The windows just flowed freely.
So anything could just fly
in. You had a mosquito net over your bed, no bathroom in the room.
A monkey could come in, just pick
anything. Birds would land on the windowsill and chirp. Chickens would be screaming their heads off at 4 a.m.
That's literally insane.
So I was just like, what am I doing here? Like, I had this crazy, just like wave. Then it just came, it took over me.
Yeah.
And I'm very happy it happened.
Yeah.
Because one thing that I called one of my friends from home and I explained this to him. He's my best friend.
Yeah.
You know, I've done everything with this kid. And he told me that, well, it felt great to talk to someone about it, to, you know, explain how I felt to this person. And he was telling me that his first days in college, he felt the same way. He was in a single dorm, didn't have anyone there, and he knew no one. Mm-hmm. And he was in this new place. And everyone kind of feels this way when they start a new chapter of their lives. Mm-hmm. You know, like I went to this country that I'd never been to before, and I was like, what am I doing here? And what he told me to do, you know, was excellent advice. And I imagine you have a lot to say on this. Mm-hmm. He said, go out there and be active. You know, do something. Mm-hmm. I was sitting in my room doing nothing because I just didn't want to. I was like, I don't want to do anything. Like, I'm feeling depressed. Why am I here? What's the goal of me being here? Mm-hmm. And he was like, you know what? Set a goal for yourself. Start working out.
Yeah.
I was never huge into working out, especially traveling. I was trying to stay busy, and I didn't even think working out was a good idea. So you know what I did? I rented a bike from the hostel, and I went on like a fucking 15-mile bike ride.
That's crazy.
Loved it.
Yeah.
Cut coconuts down from a tree, chopped them off at sunset on the beach. I came back like new man. Yeah. I was like, this is how I'm going to spend every day.
Yeah.
I was like, this is what I want to do this is my goal.
Yeah.
To have this feeling when I go to bed every night that I did something cool today.
Yeah. And
from that day till the end of my trip, and even now, I try to do the same thing. Mm-hmm. You know, and an experience like that, I mean, it's tough to say it's life-changing, mm-hmm. but it definitely altered the course of my trip by far.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. By far, I had a different outlook every morning when I woke up. I wanted to wake up early. The 2 days or a day and a half where I was just super bummed out, I wanted to sleep in as late as possible to make sure so the day would go by faster.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a terrible way to be on this trip. Like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
After starting to get active, get outside, meet new people, and actually put some effort into it, mm-hmm. you know, it was my first time solo traveling. I didn't realize how much effort you had to put in to kind of experience the culture.
Yeah.
And once I tried, I loved it. Mm-hmm. I loved it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't come home till 10 o'clock at night because I'd be at a local restaurant talking to the chef.
Yeah.
You know, meeting new people, meeting friends on the local staircase where they're hanging out, you know, like a Tuesday night. Mm-hmm. Just meeting people, walking through town.
Yeah.
Even if I didn't fit, I didn't care. Mm-hmm. I was enjoying myself. I was, you know, journaling. I started working out. It was great. Yeah. And I had this kind of epiphany, like, this is what I want to do when I'm traveling.
Yeah.
This is how I travel. This is how I want to travel.
What I took from that, and because I know you mentioned that, I have something to say about it.
Yeah.
It starts with movement.
It starts with something.
Because sometimes people go someplace, and if they don't have a clear direction on what it is mm-hmm. they want to do, you can wallow in that. You can sit in that, and then your mind starts racing, and you're just like, should I do this? Should I do that? Should I do this? Should I do that? You just got to start walking.
Yeah.
You just got to start moving.
Get the ball rolling.
In a direction.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter what direction you go in, but you won't know which direction or which multiple directions you should go in if you're not moving.
Yeah.
If you're stagnant, if you're just sitting in bed, and it's cyclical too, because it's like you're sitting in bed and then it feeds you wanting to do more of it.
Exactly.
But once you start moving, maybe you get on a bike, you go for a run, maybe you bang out some push-ups or something like that. It feeds the momentum to start moving. And it seems like that's what jump-started your trip. Like you just had to get out and you had to lean into it. I say lean into what you're feeling.
Yeah, or lean into uncomfortableness.
Yeah.
You gotta lean into something. You gotta take risks.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of, I mean, I've always thought I've been a risk taker, you know, like I'll do some cool stuff, mm-hmm. but I didn't realize how small or like how minute these risks were, and how like one little thing, like leaving the hotel, doing something else. And sometimes you don't even know.
Yeah.
I could walk down the street, grab a slice of pizza and talk to the pizza guy. And he's like, oh, you know what? You should definitely check out this local beach. It's kind of hidden by some palm trees. You got to walk around. learn something new from this guy and then go do it.
Yeah.
And then meet someone else there. He's like, you want to cut down some coconuts?
Yeah.
I'm like, hell yeah, I want to cut down some coconuts. Well, yeah, for sure. Make 3 new friends like that.
Yeah.
Super easy.
Yeah.
Once you get the ball rolling.
Exactly.
But to just think of that right away.
Yeah.
Like I would never leave the hotel with a clear picture of what I wanted to do.
That's
sometimes I'd leave, come back 7 hours later, and I was just going out for a little bite to eat.
Yeah.
You know?
It's so crazy though, because most people, like you said, that end up booking a trip to go to a resort, they have an itinerary from the time they leave the airport in America to the time they get back.
And I think that's what I was so used to.
Yeah.
I was so used to that.
You know what time you're going to have breakfast. You know what time you're going to have lunch. You know what time you're going on the ATVs. You know what time you're going to have dinner. You know what time you're going. You just went with the flow.
Exactly. And I felt like I was living there.
Yeah.
By the end of the trip, you know, I felt like
you were like a citizen, like you were like
I was like I can say to myself that I lived in Ecuador. I really lived.
That's crazy.
I didn't visit. I lived.
Wow.
Because I really did. You know what? And starting from day 5, where I had this wave over me, I actually went to a restaurant, one of the nicer restaurants there, and kind of brought some normality back into my life too. So I got like a really nice dinner, spent like $20 on it.
Yeah.
Right?
$20 US.
$20 US. So Ecuador actually uses the US currency.
Oh, do they?
Super easy.
I didn't know.
Right? Yeah. Not many people do.
Yeah.
They've been using it for almost 20 years now, but I added some normality. You know, I got like a poke bowl, you know, like not super like local food, but you know, something normal. And it helped, but I really think what was the main Kickstarter was getting out there, you know, putting some effort into it.
Yeah. And
that's when I really started enjoying my time. That's from that day until the end. I had the best time of my life. I spontaneously booked 2 days after that. I booked a trip to the Galapagos. Going to Ecuador in the beginning, I wasn't planning on going to the Galapagos. I was like, way too expensive.
Yeah.
My mom calls me up. She's like, George, you're in Ecuador.
Yeah.
I'd be pissed if you didn't go.
You gotta go.
It's like, screw it. Let me go to the Galapagos. Hopped on a plane from Guayaquil like 2 days later.
Yeah.
And
wait, you hopped on a plane?
You had to fly.
Oh, wow.
It's like a 2-hour flight.
Wow.
It's far.
Yeah, I didn't even know.
It's far.
Yeah.
And it's not cheap, but I was like, I'm in Ecuador. Screw it. I'm buying a ticket.
Definitely.
I'm spending my money.
Yeah.
I worked hard. And like I said, you know, I want to be broke by the end of this trip or by the end of this year, because I want to have spent my money and gain something out of it. It's not like I'm going to Chick-fil-A and spending $13 on a spicy sandwich deluxe. I'm going somewhere and visiting my tribes. Yeah. I'm spending $50 for a boat ride down the Napo River to visit the Kichwa tribe in the Amazon rainforest. That stuff is cool. Yeah,
it's priceless.
Exactly. And one of my favorite quotes, and the guy that I actually really look up to, Bob Marley, he always said that, you know, life isn't determined by how rich you are, it's your worth, and worth can come from anything. It can come from what you have, and it can come from your experiences in your life. And that is something what's money in your bank account just sits there. Yeah. And it's comforting for a lot of people to have money, so they're comfortable. But I think it's also great to get out there and spend it.
Yeah.
What's money that's not spent?
For sure. Bob Marley, there's an interview, and the guy says, Bob, would you consider yourself a rich man?
Yeah.
And Bob says, when you say rich, what do you mean?
Exactly.
And he was like, would you say you have a lot of like money? He was like, money make you rich? He was like, that's not my type of riches. The type of riches I have is life forever.
Exactly. And Bob Marley was worth hundreds of millions of dollars.
100%.
He didn't care. He had natty dreads, did not care. He was going to die and he didn't care.
His life and the way he lived his life is what makes him rich.
Exactly. And that's what made him rich in experience, rich in culture. And that's kind of what my idea is for this year. And like we were talking about earlier, I had an idea for myself when I was like 16. I was like, this is what I want to do with my life. I want to go to college. I want to be a business major. I want to get out of school at 22 and land a sweet job. I would have hated that. Looking back at it now, I would have hated that.
100%.
Right? Like I needed something to like this year, stepping out of my comfort zone and doing something that I don't know if I love.
Yeah.
I'm traveling these places that seem cool, but I don't know if I'm going to like it or not.
True.
And being there and just kind of absorbing everything, not living in this bubble that we live in now here, but kind of living how other people live. Like I said, living in Ecuador. I was actually living there. Like one of my favorite moments of the trip was I was in Ayampe. Ayampe was this small town.
Yeah.
There was more dogs than people in stray dogs than people in this town. And the town shut down at 7 p.m. Like once the sun was down, there was no restaurants, no nothing.
Yeah.
Right?
Are there streetlights in this?
There were streetlights. There were streetlights and stuff like that.
Gotcha.
But it wasn't like you could go out for dinner. There was no tourists.
Okay.
My buddy Max and I, who I'd met he was from Florida, and he'd been traveling. He actually spent quarantine in Huanchaco, Peru.
Wow.
Out of, I say luck.
Mm-hmm.
He says out of circumstance, he was stuck in Huanchaco for 7 months. He started his own hot sauce company there. He said he loved it. He was surfing every day. Meanwhile, I'm looking back, it was like March in the Northeast. Weather sucked. Snow was melting. Like it was terrible here.
Yeah.
You know?
Did you bring back any hot sauce?
He made it for me, but it was delicious, dude. He made it for dinner one night because what we both agreed on was when we were there, I think we had $100 between the two of us, and the nearest ATM was like 3 hours. Jesus. So Ecuador had a problem with their ATMs and the money itself. You know, you couldn't take out more than $50 a day in some places, and we weren't living large.
Yeah.
So he and I, what we did was we arrived in Ayampe. And they didn't really have designated hostels because the town was so small.
Yeah. And you met this person there?
I met this person like 3 days beforehand.
Oh, so this is
and what I loved is, and this is also once I became like this traveler that I thought, it was after my epiphany of like, let me get out there and meet some people. Mm-hmm. I talked to this guy for like 3 hours and I was like, yo, bro, I'm going to Ayampe tomorrow. You want to come? He's like, yeah, let's do it. I got a friend up there. I got to meet him. And so we went out there and we spent 4 or 5 days in Ayampe for like $100. Mm-hmm. And what we told ourselves was, we're going to try and live just together off this money.
Yeah.
And so what we did was we found a hostel that was off of someone's house. So it's kind of like a room in their house pretty much.
Yeah, yeah.
And they let us stay there. And we had a kitchen inside. We're like, screw it, let's become cooks.
Yeah.
So we went to the grocery store. We spent like $15. $15 is an absurd amount of money to spend at the grocery store.
In Ecuador.
Yeah. You could buy 36 bananas for $1. And we did. We ate them all. And they were
way better.
When I tell you about the bananas in Ecuador, they were insane.
Yeah.
Dude, it was like candy.
Yeah, those are
organic. I wake up craving a banana at 4 in the morning. Right? I was like addicted. And so we got a ton of food, and all of it was like fresh fruits,
organic
rice. So they had banned GMOs in Ecuador. It's illegal to have GMOs in food, genetically modified anything.
That's awesome,
right?
Yeah.
So I knew what I was getting was pretty good.
Yeah.
And so, mangoes, fruits, all these things we were cooking with, and our meals were awesome.
Yeah.
We became excellent cooks. And by the end of our week in Ayampe, the room was, I think, $10 a night. Mm-hmm. Or something. No, it was less. I think it was $10 a night total.
And you guys are sharing a room.
And we shared a room for 5 nights, $50 in the room, $15 in food, $5 a day in surfboards. We had like $20 by the end of the trips together.
Yeah.
By our time in Ayampe, and we spent 5 days there for less than $100.
Wow. We
spent it for $80, 2 of us, for 5 days. It was an excellent way to travel. We were pretty much living with this family too, because it was an extension of their home.
Yeah.
We wake up and help them do chores.
Wow.
It was great.
So you see them in the kitchen, room,
we tidy up our room. They weren't like changing our sheets every day. It's great. I loved it. That's all. I didn't need anything nice.
Yeah.
So we were pretty much living with this family, and you'd walk outside and it was this beautiful, untouched beach. No plastics on the beach. Every direction you look. It was a crescent beach, so like on either side there was big mountains, and no one else was there. There's this little town Ayampe and nothing.
It's like a little private beach.
Beautiful.
And could you surf there?
Could we surf? That's all we did, man. That's all we did. Surf and beach volleyball. That's all we did for 5 days. That's great.
That's crazy.
And that's what I mean. Like, I wasn't going on. We were playing beach volleyball with my boy Moses and his buddies.
Yeah.
Moses was the local singer.
Yeah.
And at nights, he'd come by our place and put on a little show for us.
Yeah.
He'd be rapping, all freestyle.
And this is all in Spanish.
Yeah. We spoke Spanish and stuff like that. We'd be getting beers from the local convenience store, going out to the beach, laying in the hammocks, going to bed at like 9 o'clock, right? Like that's when the night ended.
Yeah.
And having the best time ever. Like that's what I mean when I was like living in Ecuador. You know, like I wasn't doing ATV tours. I wasn't doing any tours. I was living there.
Like you entrenched yourself into the lifestyle of the locals. You were literally living 100%. Just like them, and that's literally in their house.
And that's what I wanted.
I mean, you are basically a local.
That was my goal. Yeah, that was my goal. And trust me, I want to get back to. I'm going to Costa Rica in the end of December. Yeah. And I want to go there so badly. I want to get there as fast as possible. Yeah. Just to be able to speak Spanish with some locals. You know, enjoy a beer on the beach. It's a great feeling. Big time. It's a feeling of just no stress. Yes. You know, you're just there, living.
Let me ask you this, though, because that seems to be a theme in countries like Costa Rica and Ecuador and probably even like Nicaragua
I love
stuff
Nicaragua.
Like that. Why do you think these countries, why do you think America lacks that, or even other countries? Why do you think we lack that openness to let a stranger into our home and that care and that generosity? And why do you think we lack that here? Because one thing I find when I go to these countries, they have less than we do, but they're more generous than we do.
Yeah, and happy.
How is that? Yeah.
And happy.
Exactly.
You could have everything you want in the U.S. and be depressed.
Exactly. That's the thing. It's like I think having less actually makes you happier.
I completely understand.
Because as long as you have the basic needs that a human needs, as long as you're healthy and you have your food and you have your water and some shelter, they're living life. They're living in nature. They have the organic food. You know, they have some natural music. Yep. Why do you think these countries have that, and why do you think America doesn't have that? And how can we? Because I feel like you coming back, you can bring some of that here.
Easy.
You know, so why do you think they have it and we don't? And how can we how do you think we can get it more of that here?
I'm actually really glad you asked that question, because I've kind of tried to bring that back to living my life. I think that especially where we live, society demands a lot from us. A lot. So
meaning like Fairfield County and
that the US in general.
Okay.
You know, you're supposed if you're living in the US, you're supposed to have a career. Yeah. You're supposed to do something to make money. Money is the kind of runs your life here. And especially in Fairfield County, when you're 18, you go to college, and after that, your life has begun. You get married at 30, have some kids, and you begin to loathe yourself. Yeah. And the missed opportunities that you've had in your life, you now have 3 little kids waiting at home for a meal, for school, to pay for their schools and to pay for everything that they have. And you don't have the opportunity to kind of do those, to visit these places and experience what they experience. So I think straight off the bat, living here in the US, there's a lot demanded from you. You know, you have I would say it's a pretty strict path that most humans follow.
Like the American dream?
The American dream, but it's kind of skewed to the point where it's the American standard.
Wow.
You're at the point where...
Wow, yeah.
Because
a dream is like a choice, kind of. Like, I have the dream. I have a choice to pursue this dream. Yeah. Here, it's like, no, there's a standard. Yeah. This is what we do.
If you grow up in the U.S., there's a great chance that you will fall into the normalities in society. You know, finding a job and doing what everyone else does. And there's a lack of originality in that.
Yes.
So originally I had the same idea, you know, I keep I told myself when I was 16, I was like, I'm going to do exactly what my dad did. Yes. You know, my dad loves his life. He has 2 kids. He's a successful dude. I want to do the exact same thing. Yeah. Right. After talking to my dad, he works business, you know, hates his job, Yeah. Right. Not happy. Yeah. Big surfer. You know, he wants to, I think my mom asked him one time, you know, what's your dream job? He goes, I just want to sell rice and beans on the beach somewhere.
I feel that.
Sell some surfboards, you know, do that.
I feel that.
And that, you'd be a failure if you did that in the US. You know, if you were just a dude selling rice and beans on the beach in Costa Rica, but you grew up in Fairfield County, you'd be like, this guy's lost control, you know, fell off the tracks.
1000%.
But out in these countries where, you know, college isn't guaranteed.
Yeah.
you don't need college to get places in life too. Mm-hmm. Life is easier. Mm-hmm. Life is less stressed. You're so stressed about, a lot of people are stressed about making sure their parents are happy. And out there, I found a lot of people live with their parents a lot longer than they do here as well. Mm-hmm. And that's just what people do. Yeah. Family's very important. Yeah. Of course, family's important in the US, but family's important in making sure that they stay happy. Yeah. Making sure your mom is not worried about you. But out there, it's, making sure you're getting a meal for the family. Mm-hmm. You're providing for your family. And I think that just a simpler life is always, this in my opinion yields happiness. Yeah. But here, a complicated, more, you got so many things to worry about, so many bills to pay. Mm-hmm. You got taxes to worry about. Yeah. So many things like that. And
they don't have to worry about any of that.
I don't think so. Yeah. They may pay taxes, but I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. But they didn't have to worry about a lot of stuff out there. I remember these guys every night that we were staying in Ayape, the entire family, and they'd invite us out to join them, Max and I. They'd be sitting on the beach, killing beers with the family, watching the dogs run around on the beach, and other families would come join them, and they'd repeat. Yeah. Yeah. Life, you don't need much in life to be happy. And these guys were the epitome of that. Yeah. And it makes me want to come back here and just, I was with my friends the other day, and one is a microeconomics major at Villanova, smart dude. He was coming back, and he sounded like he was my grandfather, dude. He was talking to me, he was spitting facts about the stock market. And I was like, dude, we're not in college, man. Just be you. Yeah. Hey, we're just who cares?
Yeah, because that's what can happen in college too. It's you pick a major and you pick something that you're doing on a day-to-day basis, and that turns into your identity. And so it's now it's your friend, but now it's your friend the econ guy.
You know what I told him? I told him, I said, be careful. Yeah. I said, be careful. Yeah. You may love what you're doing. You may love it right now. You may love the idea of being a rich dude on Wall Street. But dude, imagine that life. Imagine never having in school, you were there almost every day. Summer vacay, you got that stuff. My dad talks about, once he started working business, he hasn't really had a day off. Mm-hmm. And people, they work every day, and on the weekend, they lie around
to rest up, to work.
Say, thank God it's Friday. Yeah. Their day is over, and they end up spending 70 years of their life doing the same thing. Mm-hmm. And every Friday they say, thank God it's Friday. Yeah. They hate what they do. Thank God I get to go home. Mm-hmm. And that's what I'm afraid of. Yeah. I'm afraid of falling into a trap where I am doing the same thing over and over again, and I just don't like it. Yeah. I just don't enjoy it. Yeah. And I think that's very easy to do, especially in the US, because they demand so much from you at such a young age that you can easily fall into that trap. Mm-hmm. And I find a lot of people do. A lot of people do. I talk to a lot of people that really, my dad hates what he does. Yeah. Hates what he does.
2 questions, and they both kind of relate. Did you have any pressure? Because I know me, I don't know. I think out of all of my friends, I'm the only one that's an entrepreneur. Yeah. Somebody who's created something where they work for themselves. And that's not better or worse. That's just who I am. That's just the path that I've decided on.
You're a natural leader.
Exactly.
Yeah. And you love to guide your own path.
Exactly. Sure. So, but the one thing that I didn't experience from many of my friends is I didn't feel any peer pressure pertaining to that standard that you're talking about that most people fall into. Mm-hmm. And most people fall into that standard because, one, there is a standard, but there's peer pressure for us all to do the same thing, right? Totally. If you're an outlier, you're considered kind of weird. Totally. So the first question I have is, did you get any pressure from friends? Did you get any kind of resentment or pushback from your friends? Be like, what? You're doing that? That's kind of dumb. Yeah. Or you got to set up your life. So that's the first question I have. And 2, were your parents super, it seems like your parents were super receptive to you going down this path, because I'm sure there's a lot of parents that aren't. Yeah. So completely. I want to talk about, 1, did you get any pushback from your friends and any kind of peer pressure from your friends? And what were your parents like when they recognized that you are this person who wants to kind of go through life a little bit more free and go with the flow?
So initially, before COVID even began, I had like a little idea in the back of my head. I was like, a gap year would be sick. And so I took a gap year from the University of San Diego, not strictly, but initially based on the fact that I wasn't going to be on campus.
Yeah.
Why pay the ridiculous tuition to sit in my room and take math classes? I was like, hell no. Hell no. That's exactly what I'm doing. I'm falling into the trap, you know? I'm falling into the trap of, kind of just, college is, I feel like it's sometimes necessary for if you want to pursue your dreams and passions, but not college from your dorm, not college from your room at home.
Yeah.
That's not what I wanted to do. I didn't sign up to go, especially to the University of San Diego.
Yeah.
And I live in Darien, Connecticut.
Yeah. You didn't.
To take online classes. I chose San Diego to go out to California and experience a new life.
Of course.
I wasn't going to waste a year
doing it from your computer.
Exactly. And initially, before all this happened, before the school went online, I said to myself, my cousin had took a gap year the year before. He went to like Thailand, loved it. He would FaceTime me on the back of a moped in Indonesia. I was like, dude, this guy's living the life.
Yeah.
And I've always been that kind of that mentality, like I want to do something cool. I want to do some really fun things.
Yeah.
And I was actually a little nervous to even tell my parents and my friends that I wanted to take a gap year. And then once COVID started and things started to get iffy, if we were going to school next year, I told my parents, I was like, guys, I'm taking a gap year if my school is not online. Like I'm telling you guys right now, I'm taking a gap year if my school's online. They're like, great idea.
Wow.
My parents were thrilled.
Wow.
My dad's a big traveler, a big surfer. He did the same thing when he was my age, surfed the world at 18.
So he did the same thing.
Same thing.
Gotcha.
Same thing. And he loved it.
So he recognizes the value in it.
And so that's why I was really lucky to have parents that were accepting of this. And they thought a gap year was a great idea. And I have a great group of friends who never doubted me for a second. They know I work hard. They know I'm not an idiot. And they knew I'm not going to be ending up in Costa Rica for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
I'm going out there just to experience what it's like.
Yeah.
And now, looking back on it, not even my friends, everyone is jealous. Everyone's telling me, they're like, college sucks. College is terrible.
Yeah.
It's not college. It's like we're doing school and we got to sit in our dorm rooms if they're at the college. Yeah. And if not, they're sitting in their rooms and doing work. Yeah. There's no seat. They haven't even met their teachers yet. Some of them. They still some of them are even in their dorms doing online classes, which could be worse. Honestly,
I'd rather be home.
Like, feet up on the couch. They're stuck in a little dorm with a kid they've never met before. Yeah. So my friends, I have a great group of friends who are interested in what I'm doing, and they love what I'm doing, and they're joining me. We're all going to Costa Rica in December, and I want to show them. And they what was great? They let me take control. Yeah. And they said to me, they were like, George, I want our trip to be like your last trip to Ecuador. Yeah. So I booked Blue Trail Hostel, $11 a night.
Careful what you ask for.
Exactly. I was like, you guys are bringing backpacks, I hope. No, we're not doing any checked luggage.
Exactly. Right? Yeah.
We're going down there cheap. And they're like, we're broke college kids. I want that. Yeah. I want to experience what you experience. Because I come back and tell these stories to them, and they're like, man, you're living the life. Yeah. And so
you're altering their perspective too, in a positive way.
Exactly.
It doesn't mean they have to essentially do that, but they're going to have some kind of perspective.
Exactly. And, I feel like it's not setting me back at all. Although I may not be, I've been in school since I was 3 years old, and this is the first year I'm not. But I'm still keeping up with things. Journaling I find is great. I've been journaling a lot, especially when I'm on vacation. I find that writing down things and journaling keeps me on my toes, I even started writing some freaking stories out there, some poetry, man. It's good stuff. 100%. It's great to keep the mind going, and reading as well. I brought an 1,000-page book to Ecuador. I read about 400 pages. Wow. It was more reading than I've done in a while. It was all free will. I just pick up a book. Yeah. It's not that I'm trying to be a degenerate for the year and live off and party this year. I'm trying to do a lot of really cool things. Definitely. And I find that I'm learning a lot more being in other places than I would in a classroom.
Mm-hmm.
I'm learning things that, one, Spanish. It's great to know Spanish. It's great to learn another language.
That alone opens you up to a lot of career opportunities without even going to college.
Totally.
That alone.
Totally.
A lot of companies need somebody who's bilingual. And
it's great to experience how other people live.
Yeah.
To be able to understand people from every walk of life. Mm-hmm. You know, and I'm afraid a lot of my friends growing up in Darien will never experience that.
Yeah.
And that they will only know other people from Darien and from college, you know? Mm-hmm. And I love it. Mm-hmm. You know, I love being able to be out there and people to kind of just like, I love telling my story as well. I love telling how it happened and how much fun I'm having and how I'm enjoying my gap year so much. And, you know, one time I was afraid to say that I was taking a gap year because I was like, oh, everyone's going to college. What are they going to think? Like, I couldn't get into college, especially when I was applying to schools. Yeah. I was afraid because I know some people take gap years because they didn't get into a school that they liked.
True.
And that's embarrassing. Yeah. Of course.
It can be.
That's embarrassing, especially if you're in high school and everyone knows everything that's going on with your life. Now I'm on the gap year, I see people that going to college. You really know who your real friends are at that point too. You know, you're hanging out with a smaller group of people. You know, I have a lot of school friends that I don't really talk to now, but then I have a lot of my best friends. Mm-hmm. And sharing my experiences with them, and of course them sharing their college experiences with me, it's a very good relation. We have a great relationship. Yeah. And I'm thrilled that they're having a great time at college, and they're thrilled that I'm having a great time in Ecuador. Mm-hmm. I've received no peer pressure about wanting to go back to school. Yeah. They're all thrilled for the decision I'm making. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it comes down to acceptance at the end of the day. You accept their path, they accept yours.
Totally. You know? Totally. And as a high schooler, that's tough. Mm-hmm. That's tough. Like if someone told me, especially where we live in Fairfield County, a lot of people end up going, they take the path. Everyone, especially in Darien, goes to college. Yeah. It's rare if you don't. And I feel badly for the kids that don't because they get judged very hard, which sucks. Yeah. And that's just back to the path that society has created for a lot of people. Some people want to go to a trade school for 2 years and become a plumber, make $1 million a year in a town where there's only one plumber. You know, it's a great career opportunity. I have no judgment towards those people.
And back in the day, you were able to actually get the basic level training that you need to be an electrician, to be a carpenter in high school. Yeah. They got rid of those programs. And now I don't know if you have to go to college now, but I know it's probably costly. Yeah. Whereas you used to be able to do it literally for free in high school, wood shop and all those things. Totally. Do you even have wood shop?
We do have wood shop.
You guys still have wood shop?
Not to the level where once I graduate high school, I could be a wood shop.
You could get a job.
No, exactly. Not even close.
It's not like that.
It's like I'm making a chair. You know, like that's it.
100%.
For the entire year.
Yeah, but you said something that's super important about how there are people that get judged after high school for not maybe taking the traditional path or maybe not having that opportunity. It sucks. I hope they get to hear this somehow because it's important for them to know that it's okay.
Or
because
what I think is going to happen, those kids that judged like the gap years or the kids that took a year off or the kids that didn't go to college because they thought they could do other things with their lives. In 30 years, they're going to realize that those kids had the right choice and that these kids after their high school graduation have not had a day off of microeconomics since they were 18 years old. And they're gonna be like, what am I doing? I hate microeconomics, right? This isn't what I wanted to do with my entire life. And that's what I'm afraid of, you know? And kind of tying the entire conversation and like the life motto, the questions you were asking about earlier, I can't say I have a life motto because I have no clue how I want my life to turn out. I don't know what I want to do with my life. So why live by something if I still am learning how to live? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it goes back down to that imagination and that kid-like perspective that we had. We were open to the possibilities, and we obviously have to still take care of our business to the basic level. And maybe not even to the basic level. You know, we can be as successful financially or whatever as much as we want. But we do have an obligation as far as we're living this life to make sure we're actually filling it with the things that matter to us, not just filling our pockets.
And that's what's most important.
Yeah,
that's what's most important.
It is.
If you really love, I'd actually like to tell a story. I've met this guy who actually is from Perth in Australia.
Okay.
And his story ties in directly to what we're talking about, right? His name was Quentin. He was from Australia. I traveled with him in the Galapagos for 5 nights.
Wow.
He and I did a lot of surfing together. Great surfer, great guy, adventurous, wild guy.
Mm-hmm.
He had worked as an electrician in mines in Australia. Pretty much said, fuck that. He was like, this sucks. I'm working underground in rooms that look the exact same in every room. He was like, this is terrible.
Mm-hmm.
He, 2 years ago, went to Indonesia. All right. And he was a big surfer, of course, from Australia. And he met this guy. Oh, no, sorry. He was surfing in Indonesia, and he'd fallen off his board. And waves in Indonesia, they're huge waves, heavy waves that break over 2 to 3 feet of water over a coral reef. He'd broken his shoulder over a wave, right? Terrible injury. And when he got back to the beach, there was a man there who was on his knees praying for Quentin, And Quentin was like, what does this guy care? This guy is never met me in my life. I'm a tourist for all he knows. And he is on the ground praying for me, for me to get better. And Quentin was like, what is this guy doing? Mm. And then later in his travels, he was in Mexico, and he's been on the road for like 2 years. This guy's a wild guy. And he was in Mexico, and he had met a missionary there. And he had told the missionary his story about how when he was in Indonesia, the guy prayed for him. And the missionary was saying how in life, it's important to love everyone, to love thy neighbor, and to be really just as decent of a human as possible, mm-hmm. right? To be kind to people, if someone's in a hurry, let them cut in front of you in the grocery store, mm-hmm. small things like that.
Yeah.
And that's where Quentin was really like, you're right. Like you are completely right. And now Quentin's goal in life is he's still on the road. I traveled with him in Ecuador about a month ago. He's going down to Peru to start a surf school for kids that don't have the money to buy surfboards and to get surf equipment.
It's incredible.
And he's going down there by himself because he loves what he's doing. Mm-hmm. He doesn't want a wife. He doesn't want kids. He's not taking the traditional route. And that's what he was going to fall into in Australia. His parents were like, Stab was an electrician at the same spot. And now he's going down to Peru, and he's starting a little surf school on the beach somewhere, buying a bunch of surfboards or shaping them himself and teaching kids down there how to surf. And when he was in Mexico meeting this missionary, the first thing he did was he found a little family through coincidence, and they had wanted to learn English, and Quentin spoke Spanish and English. So for a year, he had lived with this family, and now they're all fluent in English. And all he did was just live with them, mm-hmm. right? He loved it. He said that's kind of kickstarted his, I never want to go back to Australia. I never want to be an electrician ever again. Mm-hmm. And he does have plans to go back to Perth, and he wants to be the same exact thing there.
Yep.
He knows he wants to start a school for surfing and, just being active for kids with disabilities in Australia. And that's now his goal in life.
Yeah.
And beforehand, he never even thought of that. And kind of this traveling has introduced him to loving life and loving your neighbor and being as kind of a person as possible. We'd have people, I remember we were in the Galapagos and some guy like pissed us off. Quentin was like, don't even worry about it. Mm-hmm. Why sweat it?
Yeah.
What's this guy going to do to us? Like, mm-hmm. we just got to, it was really interesting to live with this guy for 6 days and mm-hmm. how he's just so kind to everyone. And that's his motto. He's found his life goal. He's found his motto.
Yeah.
And
sometimes being kind to somebody is just letting it go.
Yeah. Letting it go.
It doesn't mean that I have to give a hug to somebody who did bad. Yeah. It doesn't mean that. Sometimes it just means not engaging,
exactly.
Not giving back maybe the negativity that I was given.
Mm-hmm.
100%.
And this guy, I'm still texting him all the time. Such a nice guy. He'll text me being like, he texted me this morning. He's like, you're going to Colorado so soon. You're going to have so much fun, man. Uh-huh. Like, send me pictures. just a nice, genuinely, really, really nice guy.
Yeah.
And he cares.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's a friend.
Yeah.
And he will always be a friend.
Mm-hmm.
Right? He's like, next time you're in Australia, come by.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know when the next time I'm in Australia is, man. He's like, whatever you do, text me and I'll show you around.
Mm-hmm.
Such a nice guy.
Yeah.
Right? And it was all stemmed on this one man who was praying for him.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Praying for him on the beach. And the ability to recognize how important loving your neighbor is and loving humans and everyone you have to have a positive outlook towards.
Yep.
You know, you can't be an asshole.
Mm-hmm. How
important that was to him. It changed his life, his career, and what he wants to do with his life.
Mm-hmm. He
doesn't need much. You know, he had about 2 t-shirts and, and that guy was happier than I've ever seen anyone in my life. You know? It was great.
Yeah.
Really influential guy. And it's made me really want to kind of continue to do something like that.
That's the thing that I was just about to say is when you come in contact with the decent people that really make an impact on your life and see how they make an impact on other people's lives and a lot of times make a living, because that's the one thing we need to prioritize, I think, in America is we need to prioritize the fact that you can make a living doing right by other people. It's not just, you know what I mean?
Totally.
Where we think we just need to make a living and it's just based on finances. You will get the finances. We need to make it so that we get the finances doing good and actually impacting other people's lives.
I completely agree.
You know what I mean?
And there's not, when you ask someone what they do, I've never heard someone say, I like to change people's lives.
Yes.
You know, I'm a kind person.
Exactly.
That's not their job. That can totally be what you do.
Yeah.
That can totally be what you're best at. Mm-hmm. You know?
Yeah.
Talking to people, being like a coach, a personal trainer like you, for example. Mm-hmm. You could say that your career is you change people's lives. Yeah. You change their outlook on how they feel about themselves, how if they want to change their perception of themselves as well. You know, the people are making, if they're hiring a personal trainer, they want to do good in their lives.
Yes.
You change people's lives on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And without you, a lot of people wouldn't have been able to get to, I imagine you've seen a lot of people completely have a new outlook on life after being introduced to exercise. I mean, it helps me a lot.
Yeah. And the psychological and mental coaching that I do as well. Yeah. Depression, anxiety.
Totally.
You know, insomnia.
I heard exercise is one of the most important cures to depression.
Because it releases the same things that a lot of the medication that they put people with depression on. Yeah. It's the same thing. It's harder.
It is harder.
It's a lot harder to
sucks.
do.
I'm telling you,
it's not easy.
I hate working out. But afterwards, I love it.
Yes.
Getting up in the morning and telling yourself that, you got to rip out 100 push-ups sucks.
100%. I have a lot of empathy for people that suffer from depression, but a lot of people that are going through depression aren't necessarily depressed. They're in a depressed state. Yeah. Right. There's a difference between really struggling with depression and needing help or maybe medication and just being in a time in your life where you're down. Yeah. It's a more temporary thing.
Completely.
You know,
how do you continue to motivate yourself? Do you ever have days where you wake up and you're like, I'm not working out today?
Absolutely.
Like I'm just going to lie in bed.
So this is the biggest thing, right? And this is something that I had to remind myself of recently is, one, I don't want to let the people, the decent humans that have come into my life, I don't want to let them down.
Of course.
2, I don't want to let myself down.
Yep.
3, I don't want to let the universe down. Wow. So I'm a Buddhist.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
When people say God, I say the universe.
Okay.
Because I do think there's a higher power that governs this life. When people say you reap what you sow, when people say what goes around comes around, aren't we saying the same thing?
That's true.
It's literally the same concept. Where does that come from?
Yeah.
Where does the balance in the universe come from that says when George does good to somebody else, George is going to get something good back.
Exactly.
Maybe not from that person, but you're going to get it back.
And it just seems to work.
Exactly.
Like a drive-through chain where you pay for someone else's meal.
Exactly.
It continues, throughout the day. Even if it's not at that same drive-through, later that day, someone said, this person did something nice to me. Let me do something nice to someone else.
Exactly.
Right? It's just a huge chain.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's where the motivation comes from, because how I look at it is like, how blessed was I to have people that came into my life? Mm-hmm. Where did that come from?
Yeah.
I look at the universe and it's like the universe maybe was like, okay, I'm going to bless you in this situation so that you can bless other people. So I'm not trying to let down the decent humans. I'm not trying to let down myself, but I'm not trying to let down the universe that put me in a situation to be able to affect other people positively. And I can't let that down. That's bigger than me. Yeah. You follow what I'm saying? So me not working out, I don't want to work out because I'm lazy. That's me. But it's not about me. Yeah. It's about something bigger than me. That's true. And it's the same for all of us. You know, because we're all tuned in, the same things that are in the universe, these galaxies, we're all made up of the same things. Wow. We're made up of that.
I've never thought about it like that.
We're the same thing. They say the same things that is in a star is literally in our body. It's the same things that we're made up of. Yeah. You know? Wow. So it's like when you're not motivated, when you're not, you know, inspired to do something, recognize that there's people that are counting on you. There's people that have made sacrifices for you, but also recognize that there's something bigger than just you and I that is conspiring in your favor to do better, to do good.
And meanwhile, I'm just thinking like, I'm lazy. I don't really want to work out today.
Yeah. And we can easily not do it.
It's so easy to say that too. Yeah. And I've never thought about it as in like, you're letting, not like you're letting humanity down, but you choosing not to push yourself, you know, to do something can have a negative effect on how we live.
Yes.
Right. And of course, not working out one day is a different scenario, but continuing that attitude, that can pertain to so many things.
100%.
Right? Like not taking care of yourself. Mm-hmm. And I guess we could say the not working out is kind of one of these categories, but not being motivated to do other things in your life, to find a career that you love, that you have the same kind of perception of like not working out, for example. Like you have the same mentality when you go into, oh, I hate my job, but I'm too lazy to find a new one. I'm just gonna sit here. Right? Like I'm comfortable. I have this job, but I don't like it.
Yep.
But let's say you say, I'm done with this place, and you have the same mentality of when you work out. You know, I'm gonna attack this workout. I'm gonna make this workout my bitch.
Exactly.
Right? Let's say you bring that attitude to life. You know, you got a great path, you know, you got some good stepping stones to work with.
Big time. Yeah. When you bring it to life, honestly, because the life wants you to challenge yourself. Yeah. It's a weird thing. It's like, I really believe in that idea that if you challenge yourself and you're hard on yourself, life is easier. Yeah. It wants you. For some reason, it needs you to put in work, because when you're working out, you're not just working out for your physique and physically to be, being physically healthy allows you to do more for other people. Yeah. You know? Yeah. So you help two people. You help yourself, and you also help other people by you being physically healthy, energetic, the energy that you have. Exactly. There's no way you're neglecting yourself 24/7 and walking around with energy. Exactly. There's no way.
And what you were saying about kind of influencing the universe by you saying you don't want to work out. Yeah. I find that when I work out, my life, let's say I work out in the morning, right? Get it over with. I feel great 100%. The rest of the day, right? So it's kind of like the karma from it. So I work out, and the universe rewards me with an excellent feeling of the day, a feeling of accomplishment, a feeling like I've done something. And that's really important. Yep. You know?
Absolutely. Yeah. And let me ask you this, because this happens all the time, and I'm sure it's happened to you plenty of times in your life. How often have you been like, man, I'm waiting for this call, or I'm waiting for this, I'm waiting for that, something that you're anticipating actually happening in your life? You know it's coming, but you just don't know when. Yeah. Right. And then you do something that you might have been prolonging for a while. Yeah. You know, maybe you haven't gone for the gym for a while, and then you go, or you do whatever it is you need to do, and all of a sudden the phone rings. Yeah. All of a sudden you look in the mailbox and it's there. Yeah. It's because that frequency, you've now opened it. It's like it was waiting. It was like at the door, and it was waiting for you to do that one thing. And then as soon as you did it, it's like, here you go. Exactly. A reward, you know? I'm trying to think of an example when that's happened to me, but I know it's happened. And it doesn't have to be like something huge. No, it can be the smallest things. Not at all. You know, it can be the smallest things. 100%. Maybe there's somebody that you wanted to talk to, or you've been meaning to call them, and then you went to the gym, or you did something for yourself. Next thing you know, your phone rings, or you get a text message that says, hey, I was thinking about you. You were thinking about it. Yeah. You were thinking about it. That's put out into the universe. That person feels it. Yeah. You did something for yourself. So the universe is now like, okay, let's make this transaction happen. Let's make this this energy, this frequency connect. That's weird. You know, it's crazy. It's crazy. I'm telling you. And again, like, we're using the working out as like a blanket term. Yeah. Like I'm not saying the only, like, working out it's just literally a lack of a better term right now.
It could be anything.
Meditating.
It could be meditating. It could be
reading, writing.
Reading
walking.
is huge. Reading is huge. Yeah. Like, and you feel great afterwards. It's better than watching a movie, in my opinion. You know, it gets the it's the brain firing. You're doing something.
Yeah.
I find it's great. And I used to never read. I used to hate reading.
Yep.
And now, like, starting to read freely, I think I hate reading because my teachers wanted me to read.
Yes.
And they would tell me to read books and make me read books. And I'd be like, I hate this book.
Yeah.
Because
you had to do it.
I had to do it. I had a deadline to read it. And I was like, man, this sucks. But now, kind of, you're on your own in your life. Mm-hmm. I love reading. It's great. Picking up a book,
leisure
thinking about it all day.
Yeah, that's what they should teach us in school is how to enjoy leisurely reading.
Yeah,
not having to read, but wanting to read.
Exactly,
completely different experience.
Exactly, because there's a book for everyone out 100%. There. It may not be Huckleberry Finn when your entire class is reading it, but
I didn't read a single book in high school or middle school.
Spark Notes, bro.
Read a book,
bro. I was like, forget that.
I'm reading a book.
Yeah, I got better things to do than reading this book.
100%.
There's a few reading quizzes that gotta bite me in the butt, but it is what it is. It is what it is. Looking back on that, I don't care.
Yeah, we'll make up the difference some other way.
Exactly.
Definitely. Outside of maybe some of the things we already said, what does it mean to you to be a decent human? Like, is that something that you're aware of? Like, do you know that you're a decent human? And do you know, like, what you're doing that makes you a decent human? Because it doesn't mean we're perfect. Mm-hmm. But what does it mean to you? And it's like, what do you aspire to do as a decent human? And,
Exactly. So I think that I was thinking about this in the car ride over, actually. And I said to myself, I believe that I think a lot of people are inherently decent humans. Yes. Everyone, in my opinion, is born as a decent human. Yes. Everyone's born very pure.
Yes.
But I think that throughout their life, they have a lot of influence. So I think that my family and that everyone who I've surrounded myself with for the past 18 years have been very good people. No one's done anything wrong. Of course, people have made mistakes, and there's been a lot of apologies from family to friends, and a lot of people have made fuck ups. Mm-hmm. But I think that inherently a lot of people are really, really good people.
Yeah.
And it's tough to meet someone that isn't.
Yes.
But on the other side of the story, not everyone shows how decent of a human they are. Mm-hmm. And sometimes we have to remind ourselves of ways to show each other that we are trying to benefit not just our lives, but other people's lives. So bringing it back to the Instagram pictures you were posting, it's so easy to say hello to someone. It takes no time out of your day to smile at someone as you walk by them, to be more of a decent human, to have an impact on someone's day. It is so easy. Some things like bringing donuts to a work shift, that's something that it's a bigger challenge.
It is.
But there are things that are so easy that you could start doing right now to make yourself a more decent human.
Yes.
To be a better person, to not be a better person, but have a better outlook on your life. And through doing that, I feel like you, make other people feel like they should do the same. It puts people in a good mood, and it puts you in a good mood. It's a two-way road. I mean, no, it's a one-way road. Yeah. And everyone at the end of the road feels happier. And they benefited from your decency.
You pass it along.
Exactly. And there's no negatives to it. There's no negatives to smiling at someone. There's no negatives to being patient.
Yeah.
And, accepting, just accepting other people.
Yes.
Yeah. There's no problems to that.
Yes.
And I think a lot of people forget that.
Yes.
And that's a problem.
Yes.
I imagine you agree.
Yes, yeah? I agree. And the thing I wanted to touch on, pertaining to that is, I think something that might stop people is like, you can genuinely be nice to somebody and they can be rude back to you.
Yeah.
And I think that stops people because they're like,
come on,
I could be nice to somebody and they can still be rude, but I think that's the point that they're missing. It's not about getting something in return.
You know what I hate?
It's just about giving it.
You know what I hate?
Yeah.
and I shouldn't hate this. I hate holding a door for someone and they're not saying thank you.
Yeah.
And I expect it. Expectations are a bad thing.
Yes.
You shouldn't have expectations when you do something. And
you should just do it to do it.
Exactly. But it pisses me off sometimes, and it shouldn't.
Yeah. Because it's such an obvious gesture.
Exactly.
Like you're literally walking through a door that didn't open itself.
Exactly.
Somebody opened it.
And you were like, welcome, please, come on in. They just like keep talking.
Yeah.
Like, fuck you. And it puts me in a bad mood.
Yeah. Because it's like, what mood or what mindset could you possibly, maybe you're just not paying attention.
Exactly.
But it still goes down to the fact that you're walking through a door that didn't open itself. Unless it's a self-opening door, you can't be so like unaware that somebody opened it. Like at least acknowledge the human act of doing it.
Exactly. And obviously I always say thank you if someone does that. I'm very grateful. I think that's another point of being decent as a human, to be grateful for other people's decency. To acknowledge, it feels great to, let's say you receive a compliment someone back. To respond to their decency or to appreciate someone means a lot to them.
Yes.
If someone told you that they really appreciate what you've done, for example, let's say you're working somewhere and someone comes up to you and says, I really appreciate what you've done around here, what you've done to me, what you've helped me through, for example, or something like that, or you just make my life a lot easier, happier.
Yes.
That feels great too.
Yeah.
To be acknowledged for being a good person.
Yes.
That is a great influence to being more of a decent person as well.
It's so funny that you mentioned that, because I think that's the thing I see the most in management positions in companies.
Yeah.
Companies don't do a good enough job doing that.
No.
They don't let the person know that I acknowledge what you're doing.
You're doing a great job.
You're doing a great job.
You're doing a great job. And sometimes all it takes is just to hear that.
Yeah.
It's so easy to say that.
Yeah, because we're in love with constructive criticism.
Yeah.
Constructive with like asterisks around it.
Constructive geared towards positive constructive criticism.
Exactly. Like we're in love with just criticizing and critiquing things.
Yeah.
But the way to get that behavior, the way to get that continued behavior is in encouraging people, letting people know I see what you're doing.
Yeah,
I see the positivity and the hard work that you're putting in.
It's so easy to say that to someone.
Yeah.
Obviously, if they're not doing a great job,
yeah,
that's a different story. But let's say someone's doing a great job at work, for example. Management should always go up to reward people for being helpful and good people. There's not much reward to being polite.
Yeah.
Besides self reward. So, you feel great being polite, but not many people will tell you that you are a polite person and that you're being very kind.
Yes.
Which shouldn't be the case. If you're polite, you should be telling other people that they're also pointing it out when they are doing something to be a decent human.
Exactly. Wow. Yeah, we could take this in so many different directions.
So many.
One thing I want to ask you, though, because I think you and I were both fortunate to have a lot of decent people around us. Yeah, totally. Like, I want to say being grateful comes from the fact that I didn't actually have to do anything. I feel like I've had it from a very young age, but I'm aware of that, right? And you probably are aware of that too. What would you say, because this is something that I think about, what would you say a person who wasn't fortunate like us to at least be born maybe to these fortunate circumstances of being around decent people, what would you say people that weren't born to those circumstances, or that's not their reality currently, that they can do to kind of get on that decent wavelength when they don't really, that's not their reality currently?
Exactly. So let's say you're dealt a difficult deck of cards, right? There's a lot of people that struggle, and they're born into tough families of poverty, families of, they don't grow up with a father, they didn't have parents growing up. A lot of people don't have a figure of decency to follow. So for myself, I feel like I haven't really grown into a decent person. it's kind of just, part of me.
Yeah.
And like, I've been that way for a while, trying to be a very polite and kind person, but a lot of people don't have that push to be like that. And I think it takes someone to change someone. It's tough to just decide one day that you want to change the way you have an outlook on life. I think it takes, it could be something small, like someone buying you a coffee in the drive-through line behind you. And that can have that can make you say, wow, like I gotta do something like that. I gotta be more like that. But it also can take like an important figure, like a coach, for example, or a teacher, to be really kind and show, I've heard a million stories about people growing up without parents, and then a teacher kind of becomes a leader or a father figure, not a father figure, but
just parental guidance
for someone, and that changes their lives, And I feel for those people. Not everyone is as fortunate to have someone. I mean, people sometimes have pretty shitty parents.
Yeah.
Really shitty parents.
Yeah.
And they become shitty people.
Yeah.
From that, which sucks.
Yeah. True.
And that's just how they grow up.
Sometimes shitty parents can be worse than having like no parents.
Exactly.
Exactly. Because having nothing sometimes is better than like having something that's just beat. Yeah.
And obviously, I mean, I can't speak on that super like a ton, because I've grown up in a family that cares and that looks out for me. But if I'd love to talk to someone who has recognized that there wasn't much decency in their childhood, and that they've become better people based on, I don't even know. To be honest, it could be anything.
Yeah.
It could be small, big, anything. And at what point in their life, you could be 50 when you realize that some things have to change, and being a decent person is one of those things. It's what a lot of people strive for. But sometimes people don't even think about it.
Yeah.
People think about, again, back to the American standard. You just got to get out there and make some money. It doesn't matter if you're an asshole or not. But at the end of the day,
accurate, right?
At the end of the day, I mean, relationships with other people and being a nice person and feeling proud to be you is more important than the money that you're making, in my opinion. And I think a lot of people sometimes forget that.
Yeah. Wow. You said so many good things right there. I think this is kind of the way I synthesize what you just said, right? If you were born, or maybe your current circumstances is something that's very difficult, right? You're not around a lot of decent people. I think what ends up happening is those people isolate themselves and they close themselves off. They essentially build a shield around themselves to prevent them from all these things. And what happens is they block themselves from experiencing and feeling the little thing as a human that you just mentioned. Sometimes it could take a small thing. They're not open to it because they built up a shield. The goal is, and we don't have the specific answers, and it depends on the person, but the goal is to be able to figure out a way that people that have created that shield because their surroundings aren't great, still being open to like block off the negativity, but still be open for that little dosage of positivity.
And you know what's great? You could be that one person, and you don't even know it.
Just slip into a crack. And that's how the universe works. For sure. We're looking for the crack.
We try to be the
That's a funny saying.
We try to be the decent humans, right? And who knows? We may have had a bigger influence than we'd ever think we'd have on someone's life. And maybe you know it, maybe you don't, but maybe it's happened. And that's a pretty good feeling that you could have changed someone's life. Someone could be telling a story to their kids in 30 years saying, this guy said hi to me in the grocery store. And, it made me feel great. And you don't know. And that's kind of cool.
100%.
I kind of like it. And I'm willing to say hi to as many people as possible if there's a possibility of me rubbing off on someone.
Wow.
Yeah.
You could be saving lives. You can change lives. Just something that small. Because I think sometimes people can get their ego associated. Something I try to be mindful of is not tying my ego into being somebody who saves people. Or somebody, because then that's an asshole too. I don't want my ego.
Self-centered. I'm so important. I can save anyone.
Exactly. At this point, you're not even doing it for the right reasons anymore. Because your ego is tied into, I save people from their darkest times. I don't want to be that. I don't want to be that. But I really do think, to your point, it's like we just got to try and slip into cracks. And we don't have to have an agenda behind it. It's just we have an opportunity in our daily life to potentially slip into someone's crack to just get that dosage of positivity and being a decent human into their life.
Wow.
That's incredible. Yeah.
And I love what you're doing with it too.
Yeah.
Just trying to spread as much positivity is possible,
100%.
especially during a time like this.
Yeah, it's important.
People forget.
Yeah, because we live in a time too. The mask, like not seeing a face,
man,
is changing things.
Weird. I don't even know what people look like sometimes.
Right?
Yeah,
it's changing things, and I experienced that just going around and saying good morning. Some people, good morning, like what? It wasn't all positive. It wasn't all positive. Yeah. The reactions, I got some people that looked at me like startled. Some people were like annoyed.
No one's. I mean, that just shows that people aren't used to it.
They're not used to it. They're not. Yeah, it's extremely foreign. And regardless of whether people are comfortable with it, we need to get back to that being comfortable. That should be the norm.
That should be the norm. Everyone should be saying that. Be neighborly. Be the type of person to
100%
start a conversation with someone.
Yeah,
man.
Yeah. Wow. Because I know there are some times where somebody comes up to you and they're saying, hey, good morning. Like, I hope you have a nice day. And the next thing you know, they're trying to like sell you something. I get that. That is a thing. But at the end of the day, like, have compassion for them too.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean they're necessarily a bad person.
No,
but
just do their job.
Yeah, exactly.
Just trying to make ends meet,
Exactly.
And if they're trying to spread a little positivity through it, by all means, man, do whatever you want.
Yeah, take the compliment.
It's like for example, like panhandlers, right?
Yeah.
God bless you. I'm in need. Can you help me out?
Yeah.
And it's the first step. No one's saying like, fuck you. Can I have some money?
100%.
Yeah, man. You just gotta. You're doing a great job at spreading the love and spreading the positivity.
That means a lot, man.
Yeah, of course. I'm happy to be on this podcast.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah, we gotta have you back, man.
Dude,
gotta have you back
sometime.
We definitely gotta have
you. And
if the thing is, the way this spreads too is like if you know somebody too that you feel like would be great, we could do another one where it's me, you, and that person.
Oh, I'm telling all my friends about this.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
100%.
You'll be seeing everyone in decent hoodies soon, man. Before you know it, all for a good cause, man.
Yeah, that's the thing, and we're gonna be able to really it can really
help some people.
It can really help some people because it's like we're wearing that hoodie, but at the end of the day, that a portion of that money is going towards doing something that's way more important than just us.
Totally,
that's the thing.
I agree.
George.
Thank you for having me, man. I appreciate it. That was awesome.
Man.
That was awesome.
Absolutely, man.
I really appreciate it.
For sure. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed this episode as much as we did recording it. Please feel free to share, subscribe, and follow us on all the platforms of your choice, and drop us a comment because we'd love to connect with you personally. We'll see you in the next episode, and in the meantime, stay decent.